All right, for my sports sales project, my, my personal experience with the entire project was overall pretty positive. Um, when I first started the project off, I was primarily making phone calls, but due to my work schedule and my school schedule and all that, I found myself not being able to make enough phone calls every day at times where I was able to get better response rates because I found myself leaving a lot of voicemails, not getting responses back. So that's about midway through the project. I turned my focus more towards the email portion of the project, and that's when I saw myself getting a lot more responses back and making a lot more progress within the sales portion of the project. Um, because of my work schedule, I found myself setting my work area up more in a mobile salesperson type atmosphere, where I would make phone calls whenever I would get a chance. A lot of times I would be driving while making phone calls and trying to get just multitasking most of the time. And then when I started doing the emails, I found myself doing a lot of blast emails where I would take like 6 or 7 different email addresses and send an email out, and then just focus on that group of people for that day. And I would respond to whatever responses I would get back and all that. And I found myself with a lot higher success rate of making sales doing that. Um, Another thing that I feel was a big part of that was when I was making the physical phone calls. I feel that I was presenting a little too much information in too short of a time, and I feel that the person on the other end of the line possibly felt a little overwhelmed with information, which turned them off pretty quick. Um, so with the email, it kind of gave them all the information they needed to know, and they could go through it at their own discretion. Um, which kind of, which in my opinion, would made them feel a little less pressured to make a decision, and they can make a more educated decision. Um, but overall, the project was super positive. It pushed me personally outside of my comfort zone because I'm before this project, um, I wasn't too big on calling random numbers and just getting information. I tended to do a lot more either face to face conversation when it came to stuff like that, or do an email. But the for the most part, this project got me over that. You know, wouldn't say fear, but that you know anxiousness of making phone calls to random numbers. Um, the current status of my call list, um, as of right now, about half of my final sales where I had confirmation from them, about half of them have been invoiced. I haven't the last few weeks of the project, I had a lot going on, so I wasn't able to really focus in too much on the project and finish invoicing. But for as of right now, I'm about halfway through, and I have the rest of them to invoice and get that all done. Um, but yeah, overall, the project was super positive. I was super happy with how everything turned out, and I learned a lot. And out of this project, I would say I came away with the new knowledge now that sales might be a possible avenue of career after graduation. Just because prior to this project, I had no interest in sales whatsoever, but I found myself during the project, you know, actually I felt I did pretty well for not having any sales experience. One thing I would have to work on is my speaking. I found myself, and I've probably done it through this presentation actually. I found myself stuttering and kind of collecting my thoughts as I talk. So one thing I do feel I need to work on is going back and really working on the streamlining of my script and making sure I don't stop and say, and all that stuff to make sure that I am cohesive and am making good sentences to where it doesn't sound like I'm trying to make something up as I'm going. Uh, Other than that, I was uh, one thing I was nervous of was doing the technology, like through the email and invoicing and stuff like that, because I'm not a big tech person, and I found that aspect of the project was super simple once you got the hang of it. There was a few learning curves there in the beginning, but as I went through the project, I found myself getting a better hang of it, and now super comfortable with doing all that. So overall, I think the project was just a plus altogether, and super happy that I was able to do it with this class, and it opened up so many avenues for me in in the aspect of possible future careers because I never would have even thought about sales prior to this class.